They say that the only constant is change, and I agree with that. The problem is that embracing change, accepting change, being in a space where you can allow change to work for you is hard. And so oftentimes we avoid change. We ignore the writing on the wall, and sometimes we allow life to start to pass us by. In this video, I want to share with you how my resistance to a couple of changes have impacted my move to France as well as my life here. So stay tuned. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining today. Consider subscribing to my channel and clicking that notification bell. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much. My name is Patricia Brooks, and in January of 2018, I left Richmond, Virginia, and I moved to the south of France to start over. It was a sabbatical of sorts, and I really wasn't sure what was next. But to get here, I had to overcome some resistance to change. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about that specifically and how resistance to change, avoiding change, and not deciding because of a change can really hinder your progress in living the kind of life that you want to. Now, I want to kind of talk about what I mean when I say change, because change can be something that is external, something that happens from outside of us, or something that happens internally. So for example, an external change is perhaps the mayor of your town putting above ground recycle bins when there used to be underground bins, and it changes the aesthetic of the community, right? That's an external change, something that you feel may have happened to you. Another one is the sun rising at 8 a.m. as opposed to 6 a.m. because it's now the fall, right? That's an external change, and it may impact you in certain ways. But there is the internal change piece. And this is what I'm going to talk about today, because we can wake up one morning and have this feeling that we need to do something different. It could be changing your career. It could be looking for a relationship that is really suitable for you. Or it might be moving to a foreign country, as it was for me. Now, in 2014, I got the dream in my heart to live in a French-speaking country. I had explored Canada, and the following year, I would explore a little bit of France. And that's when I decided that France was it for me in 2015. However, I felt this change in my heart. I felt this longing, this intuition telling me I needed to be in France, but I did not do a whole lot to make it happen. And that's because I did not see that I had any options to get here. There were a couple of visas that I could go for, but I didn't have the belief in myself that I could get them. One was to find a job that would sponsor me. And the other one was to go on a visitor visa, and I would need to show that I could support myself without working. And neither one of them seemed like I would be able to do it. So I kind of quashed this feeling I had in my heart to move to France. So 2015 came and went, 2016 came and went, and then 2017 came. And at that point, this change was just screaming, it's time for you to be in France. And so I could ignore it no longer. But I also knew that I still had this resistance. I was avoiding researching. I was avoiding planning and preparing for my move for whatever reason. And I think it was really fear. It was fear that it wouldn't happen. You know, I'd do the research and then maybe I'd find out that I wouldn't have enough money to make it happen. And so then my dream would just go up in smoke, poof, right? And so I avoided looking at this. But like I said, in 2017, that desire got so strong that I could no longer ignore it. And that's when I hired a life coach. And she helped me to get unstuck. She helped me to hold myself accountable to do what was required to get the answers I needed to make a decision and move my plans forward. Now, after working with her and getting unstuck, I made my move in a year's time. Now, had I faced up to this change inside of me, this feeling, this desire, this urge to live in a French-speaking country and gotten help, listened to that and gotten help maybe a year earlier, I could have started this French adventure a year sooner, and I could be 1 year further along on this journey. Now, that is all water under the bridge. I just share that with you because we are not guaranteed tomorrow. And one of the reasons that I work with people to help them realize their dream of living in a foreign country is that I don't want anybody to get to the end of their life having regrets about what they wished they had done but were too afraid to do. And so that's why I share that with you. So, a year delay is not huge in my circumstance, but things could have played out a little bit differently and it could have been disastrous. So, and the reason for my avoidance was the idea that I did not feel like I had any options. I didn't feel empowered and I was afraid. But once I asked and got the help I needed, it allowed me to move forward fairly quickly to realize my dream. Can you relate to feeling like you want to do something but are stuck? You avoid or ignore this calling because you don't feel like there are any options? Couldn't move forward on it because you felt disempowered, or maybe you were just plain scared? Give this video a thumbs up if you've ever felt that way. So that is the first example I want to give to you about this change, this inner change that we can tend to quash, push to the side, kick down the road, whatever term you want to use. The second example I want to give to you has to do with my professional life here in France. So I came to France on a visitor visa, a non-working visa, and that was perfectly fine because I needed a break from work. I was on a sabbatical. Toward the end of my first year here, I realized that I didn't want to continue to live off of my savings. It didn't feel good to watch it dwindle. And so I spoke with a French friend, and said, I need to renew my visa in a few months, and I'm not really sure what path to go down. And he suggested I get a student visa. And I poo-pooed that idea immediately because I love to learn, but classroom learning is not my favorite thing to do. And so I said, no, I'm not going to go down the student visa route. And then he said, well, why not start a business? You could get a business visa. And that idea was more palatable for me because I had had a business in the United States. Wasn't a financially successful one, but I had gone down that route. And so I thought, okay, I can do that. And one of the things that type of visa required was a business plan. So I enlisted the help of another French friend to help me to start to craft my business plan in French. Well, early on in the process, I recognized that I did not have a well-baked plan. I really wasn't sure how to make that work. And so I abandoned that idea of applying for a business visa, profession libérale visa, exactly. So it was time for me to renew. I renewed with another visitor visa. Again, I'm not working. I'm draining my savings, and I'm coasting in this second year because while I could have used this second year to really get an understanding of what kind of business I wanted to start and start to draft out that business plan in greater detail, I was still ignoring, avoiding, delaying this change in my heart. This idea that, oh yeah, Patricia, it's time for you to start to do something professionally again. I don't dislike working. I don't dislike being productive, but it was just easier to, hang out on a visitor visa. And so what I did was I continued to explore. I continued to improve my French language skills. I continued with my podcast. And that was that. My second year came and went. And it was time for me to renew again. And I was in no different a place than I was the year before. And so I applied for yet another visitor visa. My savings is getting smaller and smaller. I am about to be at a place where I'm not going to be able to approve that I can support myself financially. And so it was getting to a critical factor. Now, this is the problem with ignoring change or ignoring signs of change, ignoring that you need to make a change. The stress started to increase. I started to feel like, oh, I've got to figure this out. And it was a really uncomfortable situation that didn't have to be that uncomfortable. Had I taken steps a year earlier, had I stopped avoiding, had I embraced the change and considered my options, known that I had options. So then 6 months in to my this visa, I said, it's time for me to apply for a profession liberale visa, my business visa, so that I can start my business because I am ready to do this. I'm ready to get started. And I did. And that went well. And now it's a year later. And I look back and I think about the time I wasted, that second year that I wasted not figuring out what my business would look like, not applying for a business visa a year sooner. But again, that's water under the bridge. I'm not complaining. I'm just sharing this with you because if I can help somebody avoid the delay and the consequences of delay in your planning, then that's what I'm here to do. Now, can you relate to this? Can you remember a time in your life when you felt like you needed to do something different, but you put it off, you didn't do it? What were the results? Were you backed into a corner at some point? How did that feel? Not good, right? Not good. So I share all of this to help you. If you are considering a move abroad, maybe you're feeling like, yeah, I'm feeling that feeling in my heart that it's time for me to go, but yet I'm not doing anything or I'm not doing much to make it happen. What's wrong with me? Then let's have a conversation so that we can see where you are, where you want to be, what might be holding you back, what change you might be resisting. And if working with me could help you to move through that more easily and get you to your dream country. I'm going to put a link to my calendar in the description so that we can talk and see where you are. Now, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.